beginning of 2025, I have been filming these videos every 2 weeks, giving you a sneak peek of what's going on in our lives, but also showing you the meals that we're making and how we're using those groceries that we buy. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross, and this is the Cross Legacy, where I teach you how to stay on budget with your groceries. Our grocery budget is $135 per person, and currently it's just my husband and I here at the house. So for over the last year, our grocery budget has only been $270. These videos are specifically made to help show you what I'm doing with the ingredients that I bring into my house. And we film all of my grocery hauls and post them here on the channel too, if you're curious to see what those grocery shopping trips look like. So this video is starting right on Cinco de Mayo, which was a Monday. And I just went to the grocery store a couple days before this. So we have fresh produce in the house that's just a couple days old, and we will be going through all the meals that we're making. But I didn't make anything Mexican for Cinco de Mayo. One, because we had fajitas the night before that I made up super quickly, and that was at the end of the Meals 9 video. So if you want to see the playlist that's going through all of these seasons, all of the videos are linked in the description. So on this night, it was actually one of the first nice days that we got to use our deck, and it wasn't raining, and so we got to sit out on the deck and eat dinner. And I had just made Israeli cucumber salad with some of the vegetables that I had in the refrigerator. And then I had roasted up some chickpeas to have as a topping on top of the salad, just to give it a little bit more protein. And we just had it with some extra chicken that we had on the side. So it was a super easy dinner that we made in just a few minutes. And that was great for meal prep. Also, we had it for the next couple days for lunches. So this was Cinco de Mayo, the beginning of May. And I used up the last of that feta cheese that I had in the refrigerator since last July on this meal. So I could have used that up months ago. I was just kind of seeing how long it was lasting, but I did get another feta cheese when I went to the grocery store the last time. So I wanted to make sure that I used up the extra little bit, but that lasted like at least 9 months in the refrigerator, which is really amazing that I didn't have to toss that out. I stored that in a glass jar with a metal lid, which cuts off all of the air supply to the cheese, and it helps it last just an incredibly long time. The theme of this whole 2 weeks is being super busy. I swear every day we had tons of things that were going on, and I was trying to put out meals as quickly as possible. And on this night, I made those ham pies that I made in the Meals 9 video. I made them again, and this time I was trying to use up some phyllo dough that I had in the freezer. I honestly didn't like how they held up as well as when I did them with the biscuit dough or with pie crust dough. So I would prefer to use it next time with the other doughs, but you can make these with any dough. But with the phyllo dough, you can't freeze them and reheat them. So I just made enough to get us through dinner, and we had some for the lunches the next day, but that was all. We didn't try to batch cook any of them to put into the freezer. And if you're following our journey, you know that we are in search of a new house. And on this day, we actually jumped in the car to go head east over the mountains. And as soon as we got onto the freeway heading east, we saw this beautiful rainbow. Just helped to remind us that we were on the right track to selling our house and looking for a new house. But we did a pre-inspection on a house that we have put an offer on over in Eastern Washington. So we went over there to do the inspection and the walkthrough on the house, and waiting to see about the offer and all of those kind of things. But this was a really quick trip. And then we ended up going out to a pizza truck and having dinner with our kiddos to kind of celebrate this next step in our journey. We have talked about moving to Eastern Washington for 18 years. And so it's a big deal that we're actually getting to move over there and closer to our family. So that trip was actually ended up being my Mother's Day kind of celebration to go out for dinner, because I didn't get to see the kiddos over the weekend because we were busy doing house projects. But as soon as we got back, something else that happened here the next day was our chickens are gone. We gave our chickens to our friends, and and they are going to raise them. And then another family came and got the chicken coop. So Mike knows that when we move, he wanted to redesign and make a new chicken coop, but we're probably going to wait at least a year before we get chickens again. And then our friends are going to take over raising our old chickens that we've had as pets for a really long time. So now you're going to see me buying eggs from the grocery store again. Honestly, our nerves have been kind of shot lately, trying to figure out where we're moving, when we're listing the house, what's going to happen, where we're going, all of the things that we haven't had a huge appetite lately. And so I decided that pasta salad kind of sounded good, and I had added some extra beans and protein to it to help bulk it up a little bit. But I made this as a meal prep with tons and tons of veggies in it. And then I had the extra protein, and I always cut down so we have half as much pasta in it as we have veggies. So the veggies are double the amount of pasta. We did a video on this, and we have an old video actually showing the recipe and how I put it together. But it's really easy in the summertime to be able to make different kinds of salads that you can meal prep and have in the refrigerator for 4 to 7 days and be able to eat those whenever you want to. So this is Mother's Day weekend, and we are back home. We are trying to finish the floors in one of the rooms that's on the upstairs. We have a split level house. So the upstairs is our main level of the house. Our kitchen is on the upstairs. And we finally finished the floors in that room, which is the last room up here that needed new floors. We have been working on these floors for years because we did the kitchen remodel like almost 5 years ago now, and then it's just been in stages to the other rooms. So it's really nice to have all of the floors up here completed and all nice. And then we finished painting the last bedroom here on the main floor. And now we're going to start working downstairs where our master bedroom is. I am trying to stay one room ahead of Mike, organizing and packing things up that we don't need right now. So I used to own a housekeeping company and used to help other families stage their houses to move. So I kind of have a natural talent for this that just comes easily to me. So at first I packed away all of the clothes that we don't need until next winter. And then I started packing all the clothes that we don't need for like the next 3 months. And then I only have the clothes out right now that we need possibly in the next 2 months. So since our seasons change and we do wear different things throughout the years here in Washington, then I've made sure that we only had the things that we absolutely needed in the house. And I've been kind of doing the same thing in the kitchen too. I've packed away all of the things that I don't need until next fall and winter. And now we're down to the things that we're going to need through the summer season. And as we get closer to listing in a couple weeks, you will see more and more things get boxed up. But if you're interested in more videos about staging your house and organizing like this, let me know and I'd be happy to make some videos on those. So the only thing I wanted to do for Mother's Day, which is kind of backwards from what everybody else wants to do on Mother's Day, is I want it to be left alone, have the music blaring, and make something fancy in the kitchen. So this was the only fancy meal that I had made that I put a little bit of thought into over this course of the 2 weeks. And I just wanted to be able to recipe test some things and, you know, make something that made me happy. And with doing this, I had saw some frozen mango that I had in the freezer that I wanted to use up again before we move. And I was trying to find a recipe that I could use the mango that wasn't just smoothies or sherbet or a dessert kind of thing. And I found a mango chicken coconut curry that I made. And since we don't have curry often, I don't normally have like a curry seasoning. I just whipped together my own seasoning from my spice drawer and all of the things that I always keep on hand. And I was able to make this meal. It made me super happy. And since Mike can't hear me right now, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a secret about it. Not only did I sneak in cauliflower into the curry to kind of bulk it up a little bit, but I cooked it with brown rice, and Mike thinks that he needs heaps of rice on his plate. So I have learned that if I make a circle around around the plate with the rice and then put the main dish in the middle, he thinks that he is eating a lot more rice than he is. So I did make it with brown rice. I did cook the brown rice with bone broth. So I was trying to make it as healthy as I could, but he did get a lot less brown rice on his plate than if he would have dished it up. And I had snuck that cauliflower in there. He didn't even know that was half of his dinner. I did use the blender a little bit and put the frozen mangoes in there and added some coconut milk to it. It just made it a smooth, like sauce-like texture instead of just big chunks of mango. And then into the curry, I did put some frozen pieces of the mango that were whole. So you kind of got both worlds of the smooth sauce and then some bites of mango. Towards the end of the cooking time, I did add some chopped red peppers in there just to give it a little bit more color. I'm purposely trying to use up things in our freezer so we don't have to move with them. And one of those things was some sourdough bread that we had in there. This was commercial sourdough bread. I just did a collab with Anya from 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐊𝐒, talking about making a sourdough bread without having a ton of discard. And I'm so looking forward to reviving that pandemic sourdough starter I have in the freezer and being able to pull that out probably next fall and start my baking journey again. As somebody that's diabetic, I need to watch how much bread that we are having. And so when we bring bread home, I normally freeze half of it and only bring half of it out at a time. So there was some sourdough that was commercially made in the freezer, and I brought that out so we could have some BLTs. I had bacon in the freezer, we had lettuce, tomato. That was super easy, but we were out of mayo, which was okay, because just with an egg and some oil, and you can control the types of oil that you put in mayo, you can make your own mayo really easily with an immersion blender. I do like adding a tablespoon of mustard to that and some lemon juice, and the lemon juice will help cure the egg a little bit. So that is our mayo that we keep in the refrigerator, and it lasts for about a week or so, however long that egg would normally last in your refrigerator. Again, we have had crazy busy days. It seems like between doing things here and packing and crews that are in and out working, we are just super busy. And so on this day, our brand new fence was getting put up, which was so exciting to watch this go from a really old fence that was probably 40 years old to a brand new cedar fence. And it smells amazing out there. So when I'm not packing or cleaning or working on a project here in the house, I'm normally on the computer, and I can be on the computer up to 10 or 12 hours a day trying to get all of the videos on docs so they're ready to go to the editor, or all the other things that we are trying to work on, putting recipes out. But it takes so much time on the computer every single day, and this was a day that I was trying to catch up. I had done a podcast earlier in the day, and we wanted to be able to get that to the editor as quickly as possible. So I ended up just pulling out a freezer meal from the freezer, which I'm kind of cracking up about because it was the last of the zucchini lasagna that we had made in December. Normally we are not still eating zucchini lasagna in May, but we had filmed that for a video and made it for Christmas. And then after those two things had happened, there was also a newspaper that wanted some extra pictures of it, so I had to make it a third time. And I don't believe in wasting anything, so we have been having extra zucchini lasagna for months. And it's been a good thing. It's been great to pull out on a busy night. But if you've heard me talk about it a lot over the course of these last 10 videos, it's because we've had 3 times more zucchini lasagna in our freezer than we normally do. It seems like we have not had one day that we haven't been busy at least 12 to 18 hours of non-stop, not sitting down, not taking a break, trying to get all of the things accomplished that we're trying to get done. And this night, I just pulled out some enchiladas out of the freezer that I had made way back in January. I had batch cooked a bunch of those on one day, and we've been able to pull these out for multiple meals, lunches, and dinners over the last couple months. We had those with some Greek yogurt and also with some avocados. It's been about 2 weeks since we went to the grocery store when we were eating this dinner, and we still had the avocados fresh in the refrigerator because I store them in the crisper drawer with lemons. I do not like to make breakfast in the mornings, ever. And I like to make breakfast one day, normally around lunchtime. Sometimes we'll have it for dinner, and then I batch cook it to go into the fridge or the freezer. And that is what I did on this day. I had made a crustless quiche, which I kind of did in the afternoon. And when Mike had came in, he had thought I made a pizza and was so excited thinking it was pizza, and it was a zucchini spinach quiche. But I do have to say, I kind of messed up making this because I forgot that I had the bacon still left in the refrigerator that I wanted to use up. So I had started putting the onions and the zucchini in the pan and then remembered about the bacon that I wanted to add. And so normally I would put the bacon in the pan first and cook that before putting the zucchini in, especially because it doesn't take very long to cook. And so I kind of swapped it around. The zucchini got a little extra done. It was okay. And then I added in some spinach, and then we had about 8 eggs left in the container, which is kind of funny. We have the backyard chickens, and it was the last container that we had that wasn't in a little basket. Anyways, it's how I store the eggs. It was the older of the old eggs that I wanted to use up. And so we had 8 of those, and I used those with a cup of cottage cheese that I also wanted to use up. And I used my immersion blender to blend it up because I don't like the texture of cottage cheese, but I like the protein that's in it. And then I just baked that in the oven. It took about 30 minutes to make it baked, so the eggs were completely done. I was able to slide that out of the pan and put it on a cutting board, which I cut into wedges, and we had it for lunch on that day. And then I put it in the refrigerator to have for the rest of the week. Now, if I wasn't trying to use up things in the freezer, I could have also froze those on a sheet pan and then put them in a bag, and then I could pull out one slice at a time to eat over the course of a while, the next 3 months or so. But we are trying to get everything out of our freezers that we can at this point. So this was a bonkers day. It was super crazy. The night before, we found out that the painters were available and they could paint all of our interior and exterior doors. So we had every single door off of the house. We had to clean out the garage so they could paint in the garage because their exterior project got canceled on that day and they could do an interior project. So it was raining outside. We had tarps on all the doors. There was nowhere to walk anywhere. There was spray guns and hoses and all of the things everywhere. And they were supposed to be done around 4 o'clock. And by 7 o'clock, there was no ending in sight of them being done, and I couldn't get anywhere in the house. I finally had Mike call and order some pizza that he went and picked up, but it was the first time, now being middle of May, that we have had an impromptu, we're getting takeout for the entire year, but we fed it for ourselves and for the crew. And I was just really happy not to worry about, in the middle of construction on that day, trying to figure out what to make for an entire crew for dinner. And they ended up being here until after 10 o'clock at night. So now we're back to a Saturday, and on this day, we were emptying everything out of our master bedroom except our bed, because there's nowhere else in this house that our bed can go. And Mike has been working on patching the walls and going to paint them. Over the years, I have painted those walls a couple different times, but when our kids were little, he had built a castle in that room, and it was before there was Pinterest or social media. And this castle that he had built down there had a 9-foot slide down the back side of it. It had turrets and closets and little playrooms underneath, but there was all these different nail holes and stuff on the walls that he just wants to make sure that it's perfect for the new owners here. So he has been patching those walls to make them look absolutely perfect and putting new texture on it, and I'm looking forward to new paint going on those walls. But we have been sleeping with our bed right in the middle of the bedroom and not touching any walls, and that is the only thing that is downstairs. And then we have just one more little small office to do, and the interior of our house will be done. So again, we are putting in lots and lots of hours every single day to make sure that these things are getting done and trying to stay on our grocery budget and making sure that we're using our things that we already have in the house. But something else that I'm really trying to focus on too is not using up a bunch of things that I'm going to have a huge grocery shopping trip when we do move. So I've been trying to keep track of a grocery shopping list of things that we use up, but some of the things we won't need right away on that first grocery shopping trip, some I can push out a couple months. I've been making a list in my grocery planner, not only of what we need right now, but what we might need by the fall and what just needs to be replaced at some point. And my brain is a little bit scattered, all of the things, which is just kind of funny. So today, right before filming, I was packing up one last box that was going to Canada to Sharon, and she had ordered a vegetable planner, like this one, a produce book, and some of the market bags. And then we started to go filming, and I'm like, where's my planner? I just had it sitting right here. The one that I've been writing in for months. I accidentally almost shipped it to Sharon. So I had to open the box back up. Thank goodness I remembered which one of the boxes it was, because it was an international order. So she almost got my planner that I've been writing in for months, and we were able to swap that back out. But I am a little, you know, scatterbrained. Sometimes I call it a squirrel brain, but I do package every single one of the orders with love and care. I just really hope that you never get the planner I've been working on for months and months. And if you're interested in getting your own book and planner, we have these on a bundle. This is the Zero Waste Produce Guide, which has 75 fruits and vegetables and how I get them to last for weeks, plus over 40 different meal ideas and recipe inspirations in here, teaching you all of the things about produce. And then we have the planners, which are the grocery and meal planners. And there's 5 different covers to these planners. So you can pick the one that you want that matches your personality the best. And we have these on a bundle deal, and there's also a discount code linked in the description. I have pulled some stew meat out of the freezer to marinate and make them into kebabs. So I like that you can take something that you kind of think of as a winter meat and then remember that it's almost summertime, and you can make things for a different season using the same ingredients. But of course, we live in the Seattle area, and it was pouring down rain when we went to go and make dinner. So I ended up just putting the meat into the pan with the marinade, and I added a little bit of arrowroot powder into it, which would help make it into like a sauce or a gravy a little bit more. You can use cornstarch also. And then I made a ton of vegetables because our kiddo was home who's a vegetarian. So I made sure that they were separated and not cooked into the same pan. So the meat I ended up cooking on the stove, and then all the vegetables I ended up cooking on a sheet pan and put those into the oven. And since it was raining, I didn't mind that I actually turned on the oven. But I did purposely cook some extra vegetables because we're going to use them for a couple different things over the next couple days. I also made some rice with this so they could have the veggies and the rice together, and that made them have a complete meal. But since I have been an allergy mom and a mom to somebody that's a vegetarian for so many years, I have learned how to make things that are just a little bit separated like that, where I don't have to make 2 or 3 complete different meals. I just try to separate things out where it works for everybody in the family. And again, super busy day. Every single day has been a super busy day, and that will be the theme for a while here. But we had nachos for dinner. Those chips in the glass jar, they were actually, I think, from February, and now we're getting to mid-May. But those chips are still crunchy because I stored them in a glass jar, and they're totally fresh, like I just opened the bag. So we had some nachos. I had some Mexican quinoa that I had in the freezer that we used to put on the nachos. I didn't add any taco meat because, again, my kiddo was home. That's a vegetarian. That Mexican Mexican quinoa dish is a great one-pan meal that you can meal prep and then put it into the freezer for things like this. I do put it in stuffed peppers also, and so it's really versatile, and it's normally with a lot of the pantry ingredients that you normally have. We have that recipe on the blog, and I will make sure that we link it in the description also if you would like to see that. And then Mike wanted me to use up the rest of this cheese that we've been using because we have a new block of cheese that he has wanted to open. Again, I've been trying to use up what we have before we open anything new, and it's just a good habit to get into. So I put the rest of the cheese on the nachos, and we had some jalapenos on that too, with that avocado half that was left over that I had cut a few days before. So that avocado was over 2 weeks old when I put it in the glass jar, and about 4 or 5 days since I had cut it in half, and it was in a glass jar with a metal lid, and we had that on the nachos, and it was the perfect thing to have at the end of a long weekend. So as we're finishing up where this was, we had the nachos last night for dinner. It has been exactly 3 weeks since we went to the grocery store. So you can really see how we are pushing those produce items, their lifespan, as I talk about in my zero waste produce guide, and we are able to stretch our grocery budget using up some of those freezer meals that we have in the freezer. Everything that is in our house that we have bought for food has used that same grocery budget of $135 per person that we have used this budget now for many years. About 10 years ago or so, we had switched it from $100 to $135 when we started buying more organic items and not just what was the cheapest items. But over the last couple of years, even with inflation, we've been able to keep that same grocery budget exactly the same. So even our meat purchases come out of that $135 per person. Now, as you see, our family size does vary. If our kids are home just for a weekend, I don't change the grocery budget at all. If they were home for like college and we're home for an entire summer, that is different, and then I would add them into the grocery budget if they were here for like more than a week. Normally, if they are just coming home for a few days, that doesn't affect my grocery budget at all. I try really hard to check in on YouTube a couple times a day and keep up on all of the comments. If you're interested in a particular recipe and it's already on the blog, I will help you find that link. And if you're interested in a recipe that I don't have up yet, just ask and we will put that on our content list. It probably won't get filmed for a while with all the craziness that is happening, but we are really trying to make content that you guys are asking for. So I really do try every single day to be engaged in those comments and answering questions. And it is like the only time I sit down and unwind is the time that I'm spending on YouTube or Instagram. It's just a really good part of my day being able to do that with you guys. And make sure that you are checking out the other videos on this playlist. Everything is listed in the description, and we will be putting out another video in about 2 weeks. Hopefully we will hear if our offer was accepted by then, and it will be almost the day that we are listing the house, this house, by the time I put out the next video. So there will be a lot of things happening. A lot of things are coming out of the freezer. There'll be a lot of busy day meal ideas that we'll be posting about.